Good morning. YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook. I'm Brian Manning. Hello, good morning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. And I'm going to answer today your questions about winning asylum in the United States. So say hello. First of all, I want to answer your questions, so do leave your questions in the comment box. But first, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to see where you guys are, where you're watching from. So sound off, say hello. Where are you? What city are you in? What city and state are you in? We got Chander. Parkash says hello. Hi, Brian on YouTube. Hey there on TikTok. Abdi Kali, good to see you. Yusuf Diallo, thanks for being here. Good morning, guys. Good to see you. Let me know what questions you have about asylum. And first of all, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm going to get to your questions. Thanks for leaving. I'm going to get to your questions in just a minute. But first of all, I want to address this issue. I want to talk about the lie that you've been told about mandamus lawsuits. You're being lied to about mandamus lawsuits. First of all, what is a mandamus lawsuit? Well, this is where you sue the government, the federal government, in a federal court, and you're asking an immigration judge to tell the asylum office that they have to do their job. They have to give you your interview. They have to give you your interview and your decision because the delay in your case is unreasonable. Now, you can do this after your case has been pending for multiple years. You can sue the government and force them to give you your interview. It's called a mandamus lawsuit. We sometimes also call it an asylum delay lawsuit. And we've had a ton of success with this. We've done this over 100 times in the last, year and a half or so. And listen, past performance does not guarantee future results. Let me give that caveat. But now let me tell you that in all the cases that we filed, we have not lost a single one of these lawsuits yet, okay? That's no guarantee that it will always work, but I can tell you it's been a very effective, powerful tool to get our clients their interviews and their decisions, all right? So, but here's the lie. Here's the lie. The lie that a lot of people are believing out there is that, you know what? Suing the government is bad because it could hurt my underlying asylum case, which is to say, if I sue the government, if I bring this lawsuit, they're going to be mad at me. They're going to take revenge when it comes time to adjudicate my actual asylum case. They're going to hold it against me, the fact that I dared to sue the mighty U.S. government to challenge them, and they're going to deny me because of that. In fact, someone today told us that they got this advice from their lawyer who had helped them with their underlying asylum case that said, oh, absolutely not. You should never sue the government because that'll make them mad at you and they'll deny you. That could not be further from the truth. That lawyer obviously doesn't do these kinds of lawsuits. He doesn't actually help people to sue the government and then win the rest of their case at the asylum office, or else they would know that that's completely false. Listen. It's understandable. I get the logic behind it. The reasoning makes sense. I can understand why you would be nervous, why you might think, suing the government could hurt my case. I don't want to make them mad at me, so I don't want to do that. I get that. It makes sense. But the truth is, it will not affect your underlying asylum case. I am highly, highly confident that suing the government in a mandamus lawsuit will not negatively affect your asylum case. I say this with extreme confidence as an asylum lawyer whose law firm has filed over 100 of these in the last year and a half or so, and as someone who has been an immigration officer with the government's two main agencies for refugee and asylum affairs. I worked for those two main agencies for 11 years. I've adjudicated thousands of cases as an immigration officer, okay? I know what I'm talking about. I believe that I really know what I'm talking about when it comes to this issue of suing the government. And I am highly confident that doing so will not negatively affect your underlying asylum case, okay? With our clients where we're suing the government, I assure you we are not seeing a higher rejection rate, denial rate in the underlying asylum case where we have sued the government to get that interview. That's just not happening, okay? There's really three reasons why I think that you don't need to worry about this at all, okay? One, the asylum officer who ends up doing your actual asylum interview, they might not even know that you sued the government to get your interview. When I was an asylum officer with the government, we didn't even know that someone had sued to get that interview when we were doing the interview. That information just didn't even go in the asylum file at all. So we didn't even know. So, they might not even know. But listen, number two, even if they do know, so what? It's not a big deal. I don't think they're really going to care. I don't think they're gonna hold it against you, because it's not a big deal in the United States to sue the government, to sue. We in the United States, we are a very litigious society. That word litigious is just a fancy word. It means that we sue a lot. For us, it's just not a big deal. We sue every day for all kinds of things. So when someone learns that you've sued to get your asylum interview, it's just like, okay, yeah, so what? Like, it's just not a big thing. So I don't think they're going to hold it against you, even if they do know that you sued to get your interview. And then third, they cannot use this as a negative factor in support of a denial. Listen, after every asylum interview, the officer has to write what is called an assessment, where they have to explain on paper using a set format, like a template format. Here's the facts of the case, here's my decision, and here's why. They have to justify and explain their reasoning. And for a denial, they have to give concrete reasons of why they're finding you ineligible for asylum. And the fact that you sued the government to get your interview is not a fact that they can use. They cannot use that as a negative factor in your case. Okay. In other words, they can't hold it against you. Like, their supervisor will not accept as part of the justification for a denial, oh, this person sued the government. Nope. They can't use it against you. Okay. So listen, for those three reasons, I am highly confident that suing the government in a mandamus lawsuit to force the government to give you your interview and your decision will not affect your underlying asylum case. It's not going to lead to a denial. I say that with utmost confidence, okay? I just wanted you to know that, okay? All right, let's go to the questions. What questions do you have about winning asylum in the United States? On TikTok, we had this question. If the immigration judge dismisses your case in immigration court, can you renew your work permit? So the question is this: if your asylum case gets dismissed from immigration court, can you then renew your work permit, the one that's based on your pending asylum case? No, not unless you apply for asylum anew. So listen, when your case is dismissed from court, you can continue working legally on your existing work permit until that expiration date on your card, right? But once that expires, you can't keep working unless you've gotten a new, renewed work permit, and you cannot renew your work permit. Why? Because your asylum case disappears when the case is dismissed. When the case is dismissed, your asylum case goes away. Therefore, you have no basis to renew your work permit because you don't have a pending asylum case. But you can apply with USCIS. You can apply for asylum with USCIS after dismissal from immigration court. Now, whether you should do that or not is a tricky thing. You should talk with an asylum lawyer before doing it, but know that, that is a way to then be able to renew your work permit and keep working legally. Okay? All right. We've got Asrat Zelalem says, hello, good to see you. We got Seok Thapa from Nepal. Nice. What's the approval rate of asylum in Seattle, Washington? Well, that office is under the jurisdiction of the San Francisco Asylum Office, which has traditionally the highest approval rate in the entire country. That's not to say that it's high, but it's the highest in the country. So it is the best place. California is the best place to be an asylum seeker. And San Francisco has historically been the best office in terms of highest approval rate. Okay. Gender says, my individual hearing is fixed for 2027 and my case is at the San Francisco court. I want to work in another state without changing my address in immigration court. Do I have to inform ICE or not? So the question is this: do you need to inform the immigration court and ICE of a change of address when your case is pending in one place, but you want to move and work in like a different state? What do you need to do? You do need to inform both the court of the change of address using form EOIR 33, and you need to send a copy of that to the attorneys for ICE. And if you are subject to check-in requirements or a requirement from the local ICE office that you inform them of any address, you need to inform those people as well. Listen, your case will not automatically be transferred from one court to another just because you move. Even if you move into a new court's jurisdiction, usually it just stays in the old place unless you or ICE affirmatively asks the judge to transfer it to where you are now living. But you need to do the change of address. You should not just move and not inform the court and ICE. Okay. Otherwise, you can get in trouble. You're obligated to inform them of the move. Okay. All right. Edward Ajewale says, good morning, sir. Good morning. He says, thank you, sir. Interesting. Asrat Zolam says, what are the pros and cons of working for a U.S. embassy and applying for asylum? I don't know if you know this, Asrat, but I used to be a diplomat. And so I worked at U.S. embassies. So I've worked with what they used to call FSNs, Foreign Service Nationals. Now I believe they call them LES, locally engaged staff. So I've had the privilege to work with extremely talented people, host country nationals in other countries at embassies. And so if that's what you're doing, bravo, kudos to you. Thank you for your service. So the question is this: will experience working for the U.S. government, like working at a U.S. embassy or maybe for the military, U.S. military as like an interpreter, will that kind of experience help you in your U.S. asylum case? Not really. Definitely not technically, not formally. Like there's no sort of boost in points, so to speak, or anything formal that you get from having done that. Okay. The asylum officer wants to know, do you meet the asylum eligibility requirements? And your work experience in general has nothing to do with that. Now, I mean, listen, it could put you at greater risk depending on the country and the circumstances, right? If you're associated with the US or the West and people might attack you because of that, like it could be relevant to your case, but the mere fact that you work there does not really help you. I mean, listen, maybe a tiny bit of subconscious favor that you get from that, of them thinking, oh, cool, this person helped the U.S. That's great, but not much and not formally for sure. Okay. All right. All right, let's go to TikTok. Hello. Good morning, TikTok. How are you? Good to see you guys. Lots of questions, lots of folks, lots of questions. Can I make $250K as a lawyer in New Jersey? That's not really an asylum question. Let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Listen, so is individual hearing in Newark May 25? Is that good with a judge with a 57% approval rate? Is that good? And is that good timing? The question is this. Are you in a good position if the judge assigned to your asylum case in immigration court has a 57% approval rate? Yeah, that's pretty high. That's quite high, actually. The national average is well below that, like in the 30s in immigration court, and it's even lower at the asylum offices with USCIS. So if you have been assigned to a judge with a 57% approval rate in asylum cases, then yeah, you should feel fortunate. You're in pretty good shape. You want to stick there. It would not be in your interest to have your case transferred. Like if you move to the jurisdiction of a new court, you have to inform the court about your move, but you don't have to ask that your case be transferred, and your case will remain with that old court unless and until your case gets transferred to a new place, and you don't have to ask for that affirmatively. And the fact that you've moved does not make it automatic. It doesn't automatically get transferred. So yeah, good luck. And you asked if May 2025 is good. I mean, listen, the sooner the better. I believe that the sooner that you're able to present your asylum case, the better. The better your chances for success. And that's pretty soon. So yeah, that's good. Listen, if you want to talk with us about your asylum case, we would love to talk with you. We want to analyze your situation, see what's going on, and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you. Okay. I just checked, and we actually have a couple spots open for tomorrow. These things usually go really fast. Usually we're booked out for a couple weeks at a time. but one of my colleagues, an asylum professional with my office, does have availability tomorrow. So you need to jump on there and take advantage of that. If you're ready to talk about your case and see if we think we might be able to help you, go to this URL, go to this website, winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. And there you can schedule a consultation. And actually, they're free right now. We might start, we used to charge for those in the past, and we might start again. But at the moment, we're offering them for free. I'm going to put this URL in the chat. It's winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. It's probably going to fill up really fast. So as soon as you actually do it now, like open up a new tab and go over to winasylum.com and schedule that consultation. Okay. Because they're going to fill up fast. All right. And listen, my office is closed, starting December 24th through like January 2nd. Or maybe even 3rd. I need to check the calendar. So for a while there. So if you want to get help with your case and you want to do so before the new year, you need to reach out to us immediately so we can talk through things with you. Or if you've already had a consultation with us and you're intending to maybe hire us, you're not sure, but maybe you want to get some questions answered, or talk with us a little bit more, you need to reach back out today, because our office is going to be closed in a few days for the rest of the year for the holidays. And listen, our fees go up on January 1st. Okay. Our fees are increasing on January 1st. Okay. So if you want to lock in this better rate, lower attorney fees, you would need to hire us before January 1st. Okay. So do not delay in reaching out. All right. Billy Dan says, how many pages should a declaration be? Mine is 8 pages, and I fear the officer will be bored. Is there a recommendation for how many pages it should be? The question is this: how long should the personal statement or declaration that you write for your asylum case actually be? Listen, you're going to find different approaches to this from different immigration lawyers. Some will say like 10 pages is fine, single spaced. I think that's way too long. I think it should be not more than 3 pages single spaced, or like 5 or 6 pages double spaced. I honestly, I think even shorter is better. Like ideally like 2 pages single spaced, really 3 at the most. Okay. Listen, you just need to give the officer the information they need to understand that you meet the asylum eligibility requirements. They don't need a bunch of background. They don't need a bunch of context. They don't need to understand your whole life. They need to see that you meet the core requirements for asylum eligibility. And you can learn about this on YouTube at the Political Asylum Lawyers channel in a video called How to Craft the Perfect Personal Statement. Very detailed tutorial about this. Go there and check that out. Okay, Belyadan, go to YouTube, to the YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers. So TikTok, by the way, Facebook, LinkedIn, all my best stuff is on YouTube. If you want to really learn insights that I gathered, that I earned over 11 years working for the government's 2 main agencies for asylum and refugee affairs, then go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, and it's also the name of the YouTube channel. And I've got like some super detailed tutorials and training videos on there that I think are going to help you increase your chances for asylum success. And if you want to talk with us, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. What else? I'm thinking of moving to Seattle, Washington, applying for asylum. I wonder will it be okay to apply for asylum from there? Yeah. Why? Like, what do you mean? What's the question really? Like, why wouldn't it be? Yeah. Seattle's a good place to be because you are going to be under the jurisdiction of the San Francisco Asylum Office, and they traditionally have the highest approval rate in the whole country. So that's a good place to be an asylum seeker. All right. What do we have? How much does your Presh says on TikTok? How much does your office charge to file a writ? I'm interested. Thanks. The question is this: how much does my office charge in attorney fees to file a mandamus lawsuit? We're talking about an asylum delay lawsuit where we're suing the government to force them to give you your interview. Or if you've already had your interview, we can also use this to force them to give you your decision. All right. How much do we charge for this mandamus lawsuit? right now, we charge $6,500 just for the lawsuit. If you only want to hire us for that, I got something in my eye, just to sue the government to try to force them to move your case forward, $6,500. If you want to hire us for that, plus for representation in the rest of your underlying asylum case to help you try to actually win your asylum case, it's more. At present, it's $9,900 with payment plans available, but our prices are going up in January. On January 1, it's going to be $12,000 for that full package of mandamus plus the actual asylum representation. So act now. If you think you might want help with this, go literally right now, go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. As I said earlier, I think there's a couple spots open. One of my colleagues opened up availability for tomorrow. By the way, if you want to talk with me personally, you can do that. We charge, like, to talk with me, there's a fee. My colleagues, it's free right now. To do a consultation with me it costs $350. Come January, it's going to go up to $450. But as of right now, it's $350. And listen, I did open up spots on Saturday for you to do a consultation with me. You book that at the website winasylum.com, or you can talk with one of my colleagues who are going to treat you great. They're super professional. Lots of insights they're going to bring in assessing your case and understanding it and getting to know you, and to be able to tell you whether we think we can help you. And if so, we're going to explain exactly how we would go about doing that. All right. So we've got a little bit of availability on tomorrow, on Friday, and there's a couple spots open, it looks like, on Monday as well for free. All right. I've got a couple spots with me on Saturday if you're willing to pay to do a consultation. But listen, our fees are going up on January 1st. So keep that in mind. All right. And probably, even more important than the fee increase is, like, the sooner that you move your asylum case forward, the better. I truly believe the chances for success are better the sooner that you get your case heard. So the question is this: why is it better to have your asylum case considered sooner rather than later? So listen, I'm always saying this, that you want to be able to have your interview and present your case and get the decision as soon as possible. Why? Listen, the longer that you wait, the longer that you have to wait to get your interview and explain your case, the more likely the officer is to say, listen, I know that some bad things happened, but that was a long time ago. Why do you think they would still want to hurt you now after all this time? With more time, more space between the bad things that have happened and now the moment of your interview, the less pressing it feels for the officer, and the more they think, you're probably not at risk now, okay? Also, conditions in your country could change or look like they've changed, even if they haven't, in a way that undermines your case, that makes it harder to win. And then also, listen, there's the Trump effect. With Trump in office again, I think that with every passing month, the approval rate is going to go down. It's going to be harder to win. Therefore, if you've been waiting for multiple years, sue the government now to force your interview and decision. Okay? We do that in what's called a mandamus lawsuit, where, we are, where we're forcing the government to give you the interview. Okay. And this is extremely effective. All right. We've been doing it tons recently, and we haven't lost one of these lawsuits yet. Okay. Now, past performance does not guarantee future results, but I can just tell you it's been a very effective tool. Our clients love it. Okay. All right. Brian Tabe says, how long does it take to get sponsored by a spouse who is a green card holder? Not my ambit. I don't know. I haven't looked at that in a long time. It's not a case that we handle. We don't handle marriage-based green card cases. We focus on asylum. So, the question is this: what kind of cases does my law firm handle? Asylum. We do asylum all day, every day. If you need help with a marriage-based green card case, an employment-based green card case, really anything that's not asylum, then other than suing the government to force your asylum case forward, then you should hire someone else. If you want to ask us for recommendations, we'll be happy to give them. We have people that we trust, immigration lawyers that we trust, that focus on these different areas that I think will do a great job for you. But listen, I really recommend that you hire someone who focuses on the exact problem that you need solved. If you need help with asylum, I think that we're a great option for that. If it's a investment-based status you're trying to get, don't come to me. That's not my area of focus. You want someone who focuses and works every day, all day on the problem that you need solved. Okay? All right. My I-485 got approved. How long before I received my green card? It's been 30 days. Yeah, should be soon. Should be soon. But again, that's not my area, so you might want to talk to a lawyer who focuses on that. Well, depending if it's asylum or not. After biometrics, how long before we get a work permit? Okay, good question. The question is this. How long can you expect to have to wait to get your work permit based on your pending asylum case after you've done your biometrics appointment? Well, listen, it's true that you have to do your biometrics before they'll issue your work permit, but you shouldn't think about it in terms of how long to wait after your biometrics before you get the work permit actually approved and get the card in the mail. It could be days after you do your biometrics appointment that you get your work permit. But listen, you have to apply for your work permit first, which you can do 150 days after you've applied for asylum. Okay. If you've already done your biometrics appointment, then you almost certainly won't have to do another one. If you've not had your biometrics appointment yet, when you apply for your EAD for your work permit at 150 days, they'll almost certainly at that point schedule your biometrics as a result of your application. You'll do it. And then usually about a month after you've applied for your work permit is when they approve it and send it to you. So it's usually just about 6 months after applying, 6 or 7. All right. All right. All right. The question is from Prosper Fund. Says, all right, I'd like to ask you in which category of asylum will fall someone who's been persecuted by the government for being a member of a national humanitarian organization and for reporting abuse or misuse of, I guess, funds. The question is this. What kind of asylum case in terms of the 5 different protected characteristics are you looking at if you're someone who has worked for an international organization, like maybe an NGO, or worked for your host country government, and you have reported or raised the issue of fraud, abuse, misuse of funds, things like that by the host country government? What kind of asylum case is that? Well, listen, this is going to be considered what's called a whistleblower case, where you're raising the issue of like corruption, basically, right? And that falls under the political opinion category of the 5 different protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law, political opinion, all right? Even if it's not technically whistleblowing, if you've done something that makes the government mad at you because you're making them look bad, then it's probably best characterized as a political opinion case because they see you as challenging them and trying to sort of overcome them. Okay? But listen, you should talk with an asylum lawyer because they need to ask you a lot of questions about this to see exactly what's going on and advise as to, how to characterize it and fight this case. Okay. If a person gets annoyed in an asylum application and the statement says that the testimony was credible, how likely are they to win the case? Good question. The question is this. What are your chances for winning your asylum case if you receive what's called a notice of intent to deny? We call it a NOID, for N-O-I-D, NOID. Not good. You're almost certainly going to lose. Listen, when you have legal status, whether that's parole, TPS, still have a valid tourist status, when you have status, at the moment they make the negative decision, instead of putting you in deportation proceedings, they do this notice of intent to deny, where they say, here's the reasons we intend to deny. You have 16 days to respond in writing to try to change our minds. Tell us why we're wrong. That's called a rebuttal, a NOID rebuttal that you write out and send in. They very rarely change their minds. Very rarely. We have had success with it. It is possible, but it's really hard. You got to do a really, really good job of explaining why they're wrong, why they should change their minds. This is true even though they say in the NOID, like, we found your testimony credible, that does not really help you to necessarily to win your rebuttal. Okay. The fact that they found you credible, I mean, it's a good thing. It's better than being found not credible. But you should not think, oh, because I was found credible, I'm going to win my rebuttal. No, they already considered the fact that you were credible in making their decision so far that they think that you are not eligible for asylum. So you have to change their mind substantively to show them how you meet all the asylum eligibility requirements. Okay, the ones that they mention in the NOID, they explain in the NOID why they think you're not eligible for asylum. You got to change your mind on those things, their mind on those things. Okay. All right. How can I personally contact you, sir? Says Farhan Fazil Famin. Well, it won't get you directly to me personally, but you can schedule a consultation with us if you think you might want help with a case. You can go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Farhan, that's where you can schedule a consultation. You can schedule a consultation with me personally. Right now, I have a little bit of availability on Saturday. Consultations with me cost $350 right now. In January, they're going to go up to $450. And actually, I don't do very many of these. I might not even keep doing them at all in January. Right now, though, I'm doing them, and it costs $350, and you can book it with me this Saturday. If you go now, it's probably going to fill up within the coming hours. So if you're still watching Farhan and you want to talk with me personally, go right now to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. If you want to talk with one of my colleagues, you can do that for free. Okay. You can schedule an asylum strategy session at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Listen, by way of reminder, our fees are going up on January 1st. So if you're thinking about possibly getting our help, it makes sense to act now, okay, before those fees go up on January 1st, okay? All right. Nice. Okay. Case was transferred and a new office has jurisdiction. You got that, Wahid? You got that on your, is it your USCIS case status? Okay. Good question. The question is this. What does it mean if you see in your My USCIS case tracker, case status, if it says something like your case was transferred and a new office has jurisdiction? Why does that happen? What does that mean? Well, when you move, you change addresses and you do the change of address notification form AR11, whether you do that on physical paper or online. I recommend online, by the way. They're going to look and see, based on your zip code, whether you have moved from the jurisdiction of your old office into the jurisdiction of possibly another office. When that happens, when they're like, oh yeah, it's a new office that covers that zip code, they transfer your case to that new office. It's not an option that you have to, like, oh, I want to keep my case at my old office, or I want to move it to some other office. You don't have a choice. They automatically transfer your case if your new address is in the jurisdiction of a new asylum office. And so that's almost certainly what happened in your case. That's what that means. Okay. All right. Okay. Nice. Yeah. So on TikTok, we have this question. Can you please talk about LGBTQ plus asylum cases? Yeah. The question is this. Is it easy to win an asylum case based on the fact that you're part of the LGBTQ plus community? And the answer is, no, I wouldn't say that it's easy necessarily just because of that. Listen, asylum approval rates are low, okay? It's hard to win asylum. Yeah, it's true that being a member of the LGBTQ plus community can serve as a basis to win asylum. It fits under one of those 5 protected characteristics, the one that's called membership in a particular social group. But listen, it depends on you and your particular circumstances, whether you have a strong case or not. It depends on what's happened to you, if anything, in the past, and it depends on the future, whether you're able to convince the officer that either someone is inclined, like intends to harm you because of this, or that there is what's called a pattern or practice of persecution of members of the LGBTQ plus community in your country. And those arguments need to be made thoughtfully, thoroughly, and just really well. Okay, so we need to talk about your particular case. Okay, go to schedule an appointment, please. Go to winasylum.com. You can do that right now. Okay, schedule an appointment at winasylum.com so we can talk with you and see whether we think you have a chance to win, whether we can help you, and if so, we'll tell you how. We'll explain exactly what we would do to give you the best possible chance to win your asylum case. Okay. What about Chicago and Massachusetts? The asylum office for Massachusetts is the Boston Asylum Office. It has a low approval rate, sometimes around the lowest. It's tough. Chicago's actually good. Chicago Asylum Office has one of the higher approval rates. It's a pretty good place to be an asylum seeker. Okay. Who is responsible for the decision, the interviewer or immigration? Good question. The question is this: who actually makes the final decision in your asylum case with USCIS? So look, at the asylum interview, you're interviewed by what's called an asylum officer, and they are the ones that actually make the decision. After the interview, they decide whether they think you are eligible for asylum or not. And they have to write up an assessment, like a written out statement where they explain, here's the facts, here's my decision, and here's why. They have to apply the facts to the law and justify their decision. Now, their supervisor does have to sign off on it. But the thing is, the supervisor will sign off and will defer to the officer as long as the supervisor thinks that the officer's decision is legally defensible, which means like it's not a clear error of the application of the law. And so so the answer is it's the officer's decision, but the supervisor can sort of hold off that decision and make them reconsider if it's not legally defensible. Okay? But it's the officer's decision. All right. Are there any, Mathimu says, are there any benefits or support that an asylum applicant can apply for to help with living while waiting for a work permit? Good question. The question is this: does the government or anyone else offer any kind of benefits or support for people who are seeking asylum, but who can't work legally until they get their work permit based on their pending asylum case? And the answer is that unfortunately the government definitely does not offer anything at all like that. The federal government, that is. You may be able to find non-governmental organizations like in charities that might provide some limited assistance. Like I can think of some in Houston and Dallas, for example, where we have a lot of clients. There's a couple that do provide to certain people some limited forms of support, like in terms of housing support and potentially food support, English language lessons, help finding a job once you're eligible to work legally. So you got to Google and you got to talk to people in your community, in the immigrant community, especially to try to find those non-governmental organizations or charities, and in some cases state or local organizations, but definitely not federal government. Okay. It's tough. It's really tough, I know, for people, especially before, they're eligible to work legally and earn money to support themselves, right? I just got my green card through Asylum. When can I apply for a travel document? You can apply for a refugee travel document that basically serves as a passport. So, you don't have to rely on your old host country passport. You can do that. As soon as you win asylum, you're eligible to apply for a refugee travel document that allows you to travel. It lets you get back into the United States, and it also is treated as a passport by other countries. Okay. All right. Okay, this is interesting. Harris says, I followed your instructions and I won my asylum case in Canada. Thank you. Thank you for commenting, Harris. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a U.S. asylum lawyer. My law firm, we only help people in the United States. The stuff that I'm talking about here in everywhere that I talk about stuff is geared toward the United States. But the truth is, the rules are similar in most countries because most countries base their asylum regime off of the same United Nations convention. I mean, listen, they're different. Like you should, if you're thinking about getting help from like a lawyer, you should get a lawyer in your own country that focuses on that country's asylum. Um, and when I say your own country, I mean the country where you're living and seeking asylum. Um, so we just help people in the United States. But yeah, there's overlap. A lot of the ideas are the same, and a lot of the stuff that I teach about how to prepare, how to present your case is probably going to be helpful anywhere. Okay. All right. Nice. Um, what are the chances for success with a mandamus lawsuit? Good question. The question is this: how likely are you to actually win your mandamus lawsuit? We're talking about this asylum delay lawsuit, right? Where you're suing to force the government to give you your interview after you've been waiting for years for it, or to give you your decision if you've already had your interview, but then they're slow in getting you the decision. Um, Listen, I don't know of any statistics on this. I can just tell you from personal experience, based on my law firm's experience. We've been doing this a ton lately, and we've had a lot of success. We filed over 100 of these in the last maybe year and a half or so. And the truth is, we haven't lost one of these yet. Now, past performance does not guarantee future results. Keep that in mind, but it's a very powerful tool. Listen, the longer you've been waiting, the more years you've been waiting, the higher your chance for a successful outcome. But as long as it meets a certain threshold where we think you're in a good position, then like we think you're in a good position and there's a good chance for success. All right. It's a powerful, effective tool. Okay. So listen, right now, based on our experiences, we're telling everyone that we will help you with a mandamus lawsuit if you've been waiting for 3 years at every asylum office except Los Angeles. For your cases that are pending with the Los Angeles Asylum Office right now, we're saying you need to have been waiting for 5 years, unfortunately. Everywhere else in the country, 3 years, okay? All right. All right. The question is this on YouTube. New Dawn asks, if I was granted asylum and a green card based on political grounds and the conditions in my home country have changed, will visiting my home country affect my green card or future citizenship? Good question. The question is this: will returning to your home country from which you needed asylum, will that negatively impact your immigration situation in the United States if you return there after you've already won asylum and after you've already gotten your green card, and assuming that the conditions in the country have changed such that you think it's safe now and it looks safe, like the reason that you had to be afraid like no longer exists really because of something that's changed? Is it okay under this kind of circumstance? The question is, to go back to your country, or when you get back to the United States, are they going to maybe not let you in or try to take away your green card or deny your citizenship application in the future? The answer is, this is tricky. It's really hard to predict what might happen. There is some risk that, yeah, you could have problems. Because of that, I think most immigration lawyers, if not almost all of them, would tell you you really probably should not go back to your country until you get U.S. citizenship. At that stage, it's pretty safe. Okay. I know that's tough to hear because you want to go back and you're thinking, well, it seems like it should be okay because there's changed conditions, right? Won't they understand that? And they might, but they might not. They might see that you've returned and put you into deportation proceedings, and even though you're trying to explain, oh look, there's changed conditions, well, they might say, well, okay, in that case, you don't need asylum anymore, so your asylum is being taken away. It's pretty risky, okay, to go back. Based on your experience, have you won mandamus lawsuit for 2 years pending asylum with USCIS? Asks Rod Alakra. No, we haven't tried it. We've only sued for mandamus with 3 years minimum. 3 years minimum. That's our threshold, our minimum for every office except for the Los Angeles Asylum office, where we're saying 5 years. We're only filing now at 5 years with Los Angeles. Everywhere else we're doing 3. I have not tried it at 2 years, but I think the chances for success are pretty low. Okay, we wouldn't file for you under 3 years. But listen, that does raise a good question. The question is this: what can you do if you haven't been waiting long enough to file a mandamus lawsuit, but you want to make some progress on your case? You want to take action on your asylum case and keep improving it to give yourself the best possible chance to win, and to be ready, to be in a good position to move forward once you are eligible, want to have a good chance to with the mandamus lawsuit, and you do that and move your case forward. What should you do in the meantime? We help people in this position by working with them to develop what's called an asylum roadmap. This is where we're actually fighting the case on paper, the underlying asylum case. It's going to consist of a declaration from you explaining your case, what we're going to work together to develop. There's going to be evidence. We're going to make a list of stuff you should try to get. Even if you've already done a declaration and evidence, we're for sure going to want you to get more evidence, and we might want you to do a supplemental declaration. But the third thing for sure that we're going to do is a legal brief where we explain your case and how you meet the asylum eligibility requirements. We send this in. This asylum roadmap is key to helping you win your underlying case. So we can do that now while you're waiting to be able to have a good chance of suing, a good chance for success with suing. Okay. All right. All right. Eddie says, I'm a Saudi who converted to Christianity, who was attacked and stabbed for being an atheist back then, but I never went to the police or hospital because I would be the one in trouble. How would I strengthen my case? First of all, I'm really sorry to hear about what you've been through. That's terrible, Eddie. I'm really sorry to hear that. The question is this: what can you do to present the strongest case possible if you don't have any evidence about the things that you've been through in your country? So listen, sometimes people don't even apply for asylum because they say, you know what, even though bad things have happened, I don't have any proof. I don't have any hard documentary evidence. Therefore, they're not going to believe me, so I shouldn't even apply. That's a misguided approach. Why? Because you can win asylum in the United States without any evidence whatsoever. Rather, you can win asylum based just on your testimony, which means the things that you say during your asylum interview, as long as that testimony is detailed, consistent, and plausible. Those are the 3 things the officer is looking for. Is it detailed, consistent, and plausible? So yeah, it helps to have evidence, but you shouldn't not pursue your case or be too worried about it if you can't get it, because yeah, you can win based on just your testimony, but you got to be really prepared to tell your story in a clear, compelling way. It's going to be tough, but it's possible to win under the circumstance. Okay? So Eddie, basically you need to really prepare your case well, to prepare for your interview well, especially, okay? And you're going to need, I strongly recommend that you have a legal brief, applying the facts of the law to facts of your case to the law, and using country conditions information that shows that people like you are still at risk, okay? And that the authorities, like you said, can't be trusted. That's going to be, in a case like yours where the attackers, the persecutors, are not government employees, but rather are like private individuals, you really need to do a good job with country conditions information to show that the authorities are unable or unwilling to help people in your position, okay? And that's something that we're I think very good at doing in my office, okay? Estelle says, can you win asylum after being in the U.S. for more than 1 year? Thank you. The question is this: is it possible to win asylum in the United States despite the fact that you're applying after having already been here for 1 year? Listen, the thing is, yeah, there exists the 1 year filing deadline, the rule that says you normally need to apply during your first year in the United States. However, there's 2 categories of exceptions. If you prove that one of these applies in your case, then you get around the 1 year filing deadline, okay? One category is called extraordinary circumstances, and the other one is called changed circumstances. And it's actually complicated. The case law around this, like the policies for how USCIS will interpret this and judges, is complicated. It's tricky. If you are thinking about filing after you've been here for a year, or you already did so, and you now need to present your case, you definitely need to talk with an asylum lawyer to get help in making these arguments around the 1-year filing deadline. But it is possible. Lots of people qualify for these exceptions, so you should talk with a lawyer. Okay. So that begs the question. The question is this: what are examples of cases where a person can qualify for an exception to the 1-year filing deadline, which is to say they file their application after they've been in the United States for more than 1 year, which normally would make you ineligible for asylum. But remember, there's a couple of categories of exceptions that if one applies to you, it's okay that you applied late. You get around the ban. Students is an example of that. If you have maintained status, legal immigration status, since your arrival in the United States, and you apply for asylum while you still have that status, you'll qualify for an exception called the maintenance of status exception, which falls under the category of extraordinary circumstances exceptions. Another example is where something changes and in a way that maybe you weren't so much at risk in the past, but now you really are, or at least you're at much greater risk now. That could be what's called a changed circumstance. And it's possible to win these cases despite filing late. You should talk with an asylum lawyer, though. It's tricky. The law around this stuff is complicated. The policy, the interpretation of it, implementation of these exceptions by USCIS is tricky. Okay. Wahid says, I entered the U.S. 15 months ago with humanitarian parole and applied for asylum with USCIS. I have an NTA, but my case is not appearing in EOIR. Is it possible for USCIS to transfer my case to immigration court? Yes, they will eventually. They should, and they will eventually, but there's no telling how long it'll take. You can reach out to USCIS and ask them to transfer the packet over to the immigration court. But listen, if you have an NTA, then it's going to end up at the immigration court. Okay. Moniki says, is it within 1 year from the last date of entry, not the first date of entry? Talking about asylum, ? The good question. The question is this: how does the 1-year filing deadline work in terms of that actual year? Are we talking about you must file within 1 year from your most recent entry to the United States, or is it within 1 year of like your first entry to the United States? Because listen, a lot of people have made multiple entries to the United States, sometimes 2, sometimes many more than 2. What matters for purposes of this 1-year filing deadline for asylum cases is your most recent entry, the one you most recently made. The question is, did you apply for asylum within 1 year of that most recent entry? For people that come to the border, it's like the day that you cross the border is the starting point of that timeline. It's not like if you get detained and then you get released from detention, it's not the date that you were released from detention. This is a common mistake, common problem. You have to understand it's from the date that you cross the border into the country is when that clock starts for that 1-year filing deadline. Okay. Listen, if you want to see if we might be able to help you with your asylum case, please go to winasylum.com. It's WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals so that we can analyze your situation, tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you. If we think that we are, we're going to explain to you how. We're going to go into great detail to understand your case and then to explain to you the exact concrete steps that we're going to take to give you the best possible chance to win your case so that you can secure your future in America through asylum. Okay. You can do that now. You can go to winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Okay. We've got Reham Shabana says, we're on pending asylum since 2017, originally from Egypt. Reham, I want to talk with you. If your asylum case has been pending since 2017, you're in a very good position to have success with a mandamus lawsuit because this delay in your case is going to be considered unreasonable. I'm quite confident. And there's a good chance you can get the government to schedule your interview and then give you the decision quickly thereafter by way of a mandamus lawsuit. We should talk, okay? Please go to winasylum.com, winasylum.com to schedule this consultation. Do it right now. We've got a little bit of availability, I think, still for tomorrow, including free consultations tomorrow. There's a couple spots on Saturday with me that are paid $350, and then I think there's a couple on Monday. But listen, we're closed from Tuesday through the end of the year. And also our fees are going up on January 1st. So there's every incentive to go to winasylum.com. If you think you might need help, go to winasylum.com. Okay. Sophia Dixit says, when can we get school admission for our 9-year-old child after applying with you? By the way, yesterday we had a session with Ricardo Olea yesterday at 3. Good. Sophia, thank you for doing the appointment with us, the consultation with my colleague, Ricardo. I trust that he treated you great and did a great job because he's great. Thank you for taking the time to do that and to comment. So the question that you asked was, when can we get school admission for a 9-year-old child? So yeah, here's the question is this. How long after applying for asylum do you need to wait in order for your child to be able to go to school in the United States? And the answer is you don't need to wait. Listen, this is something that's probably best to inquire with the school about, the school district where you live about. But it is the case that I'm pretty sure every district in the country allows kids to go to school that don't have legal immigration status, or maybe they still have the tourist status, which is to say you don't need to show them that you've applied for asylum or that your kid is part of a pending asylum application. So if you should be able to go to get them enrolled without that, meaning like you should be able to do it immediately. Okay. You can call the school and ask to talk with someone about admission for and getting started for a foreign client, for someone who's not a U.S. citizen here. Great. So Sophia says, yes, he was awesome. And we are signing tomorrow. Good, Sophia. I'm glad to hear that. I think you're making the right choice in moving forward now rather than later. I think the sooner that people wait, the harder it's going to be to win asylum under Trump. I think with every month that goes by under Trump, the approval rates are going to go down and down and down and down and down. So I encourage folks to do this now. Like Sophia has said, she's decided to do, says she's going to hire our law firm tomorrow. Thank you, Sophia, for deciding to put your trust in us. We're going to keep earning it. We're going to do a great job in your case and put together a strong case and give you the best possible chance to win your asylum case. All right. All right. That's it. Got to head out. But listen, it's a pleasure supporting all of you in your asylum journeys. And I hope we can talk in the next couple of days here before the year wraps up, before our fees go up, before things get even messier with every month that Trump is in office. Get in touch with us now. Go to winasylum.com, winasylum.com to schedule a consultation right now. Again, I'm Brian Manning. We're based in Houston, Texas, but it doesn't really matter because we help people all over the country, I want to talk at winasylum.com. Have a great one. Happy holidays, and I look forward to